production and everything went like, yo, nothing was working, and I couldn't really figure out what was happening. So yeah, my job was on the line to that day. Luckily, I managed to figure it out, and from that day on, I decided to start this new chapter of learning how to write tests. So far, so good, not bad at all. But I'm trying. I'm trying. So without much ado, I have some maybe a tip that I like to share. It's a test snippet where it gives you the shortcut to writing the test code. Yeah, what you do for those people who use VS Code, just press Control Shift. Then you have a dialog here, and the details just like snippet, and say configure your snippet, and as you can see, there's a chat.json here. Snippet. So this is where you add your snippet. The snippet is like a shortcut of commands that come in handy when writing text. You don't have to write like the whole thing. So maybe I'm just going to show you. For example, this is an empty file. So when I want to write a group of tests, maybe I write group. I just type test, and then with this test, I get to, yeah, it just completely for me the whole function very quickly. Like a something on the top. So basically that's it. And then it stops by writing our first steps. We're going to, I've already set up the application. Let me just show you a quick view there for what it does. So let me show you. Yeah, I could run the app, but yeah, the RAM and the emulators don't do well. Yeah. Okay, so it's just a list view builder with an icon to pick favorites and also remove elements that you have added to the favorites list. Just as very simple app, and so we're going to write simple tests to make sure that its logic and functionality stays that way. So for me, the first thing I usually do is make the same folder structure that is in the lib folder. I like to maintain it. So let's say I have this lib folder, then I have model. So in the all tests are written in the test folder. As you can see here, Flutter comes with a default file called widget_test. So we're going to leave that there. We are not going to use it. So I want to write test for this class, the favorite class. So what I'm going to do is maintain the same folder structure. So I'm going to create a folder called model in the test folder. Then a favorite class. But the tricky part now, the tricky part is this: you have to name the file with a test at the end. So it will be the class that you're trying to write for the test is called favorites. Your test file will be called favorites_test. So with that, we can start writing our test. And yeah, let's do this. So the favorite class, what do we have here? We have a function. We have a function to add an item, and also another function to remove an item. So we're going to test and make sure that this functionality works as it is expected all the time, any day, even if you edit anywhere in your code, the functionality is maintained everywhere without any worries. So what you do first, for to test models or the unit, literally functions and classes, we call those tests. They are called unit tests. So We just state the class, but we again. So everything in here will be done as a test function. So it will be done as a test. Then we can create a group of tests. We give it a description, maybe we say favorite class test, and then for the body, just give it a function.
Oh, hey, Dedan, sorry. Kind of your audio is fluctuating. Sometimes I'm hearing you well, then at times I don't hear you well. So maybe you can increase it a little bit.
Okay, yeah, let me try me.
Yeah, cool.
So after that, we have created our first group of tests. And so as we are testing the function, we use the test function. In Flutter, we have two test functions. We have the test widgets, this one, test widgets. But because we are not testing for widgets, we'll be using the other functions. So for test, we also need to give it a description. We say, let's see what we're testing first. Let's see, we'll be testing this and the add function. So testing the add function. Then we give it a body which it expects a function. So as you can see, a dynamic function body. So we give it 1. Then let's put a semicolon there to remove the errors. Okay, cool. We can do this now. So function, let's see. So the favorite class. Let me just copy this. So the first thing we do is initialize the class that you want to test. Find our favorites, or maybe five. We initialize the class. Import the class. Then do five dots. We want to add an item, a number that is. So let's declare it here at the top. I say it expects an integer. So integer 10. Oh, sorry. We call it integer item equals 10. So we're going to add 10 to the list item. So this is where the testing part begins. All this was just a setup. So for this, to make sure this logic is working, we need to make sure that our list here, the favorite items list, there will be an item with this number 10. So we use the expect word. So what this basically says is that if maybe I do 2 plus 2, I expect a 4 as an answer. So that's it in a nutshell. I don't know. Let me try and run this and see whether it works. Expect 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Run that test. See what it says. Yeah, just a minute. So yeah, it passed. It says basically that's it. Expect 2 plus 2 equals 4. You can do anything that you want to confirm. But now for our test, we expect now for the 5 plus dot, we expect this list here, 5 dots. 5 dots. 5 dot items dot contains. Maybe yeah, let's use contains. contains this item that we added, and because we have already added it, this contains returns a boolean. It's either a true or a false, but in a situation we expect it to return a true, that it has that element for this test to pass. So you can right click here on the green icon. Let's run the test and see whether what happens. It's running the test. So just a while. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the test is okay. Fast. Maybe I can try and debug and we can play around with it. Bug test. So basically what Flutter testing does, it loads the VM on your machine so that it works like a phone, but then it's on your laptop. So let me see. So when you're debugging, you can actually see the variables at the time that you're working on the test. You can actually see that this list has only one item that you have added, the 10, and maybe the listeners, the favorite item also has one item, and basically you can check whatever functionality or whatever variables you want to check. So let's move on to the next test. Will be testing out the removal of an item. So okay, let me see how this goes. Try another test. So removing an item. So let's see. Again, we declare our class kind of goes to favorites. Sorry. Then we want to test the removal class, the function remove. We need to pass it an item. Let's say integer item. Let's pass it 20 this time. Let's see. Item. So we expect that the pav list, the items list in the class items that contains this item is so as we are removing the item, that means that we do not expect any this value in the list. So we expect contains to return a false value. So let me try and run the test and see what happens. Okay, the test did pass, but yeah, I don't trust it because ideally I've removed an item that I had not added before. So literally the list was empty and there was nothing to remove. So we cannot actually fulfill this. We cannot fulfill the function is doing its job. So ideally, first of all, we need to add this item into the list and confirm that it exists. So pav dot add the item to make sure that it is there before we try and remove it. Then we do this the same expect. We expect that pav dot items that contains this item. So yeah, if this passes through, then I can confidently say this the function is well tested. Yeah, good. Yeah, the test has passed. It's okay. So yeah, I can say that the favorite class, the is well covered for test. The two functions, the add function and the remove function, and whatever changes you can make in that code. If these tests don't pass, then your code and your implementation is wrong. Then next we can move to, let's try and test the favorites class. No, actually the widgets. Let's move to the widgets. Let's try and test the widgets. So for the widgets, yeah, it's not much that easy like for testing the classes. For the widgets, it's a little bit tricky, but when you get used to it, you get a hang of it. So I'm going to do the same thing, maintain the same folder structure. So I'm gonna create a new folder, screens. So we're going to test this home.dat, the home.dat file. So it has a text button at the top, at the up bar, and also a list view builder, which has an item tile. So we can actually test the addition of an item. The item tile, which has the, let me just show you the video again. So we're going to test this. We're going to test the favorites button, whether it's working or not, and this icon, the favorites icon. That is what we're going to test. So let's see. I'm going to create a file, new file, in the screens folder. So underscore. Remember to always name your test files with a test at the end. Home underscore test like that. So okay, so we do the same thing. Add the void main function, but then I have a shortcut key, so I'm gonna just do this. Yeah. So these are home test. So before testing the widgets, we need to pump them. Not actually pump. We need to load this the testing app, the main. We need to run this app. We need to run the app itself. So we need to load this, and we need to load the material app also in our test. So what we do is that we create a function outside the file, not outside the file, but outside this function. We create it here. It's going to return a widget because everything in Flutter is a widget. So even the material app will be a widget. So we say maybe create home screen. So let's see, create home screen. So let's see the structure of our material when we first make this import. Let's use material. So make that we have this change notifier provider with a favorites type. So we're going to load that. Change provider. Then of type favorites. Then we move to the create function. Here the create function expects, let me see, expects a context, or rather it passes a context of the type of class that you are trying to load. So it passes in the context, but we need to return also the same class that you're trying to pass in. So next it expects, we need a child. We need a child for it. So we pass in a child. And for a child in the main.dat, for its child, we're going to pass in the material app, as you can see here. So let's pass in the material app. So for the material app, you don't have to put all this, like the title, theme data, the routes, but it's either you passing the initial route and the route, or you also passing the home variable. For us, we're just going to pass in the home variable because it's just going to work well. And for the home variable, let's see the initial route home page. We're going to load the home page. The home page. So basically that's it. You have set up the run up. So with this is the first thing that is going to be called by our test. And now we can actually start the testing bit. So as I said before, when you're trying to test widgets, we use the test widgets function. Test widgets function. So it also expects a description. Then it expects a callback. Let's see when it expects a function that returns a widget tester. So we put in a function here, and then do that. But then let me, because it is returning a function called widget tester, let's name it to be accordingly tester. So tester. So this variable, this tester is the one that we actually use to access the widgets in the page, like maybe the list view, the favorites icon, and also we use it to access the functions that Flutter provides for testing widgets. So maybe we can start we can use it. But the other thing to note is that when using these test widgets, always add the await key and always load this function, the main app, before you do before you start writing any other test. You load the create home screen, and also you add the await keyword. Let me just do that. So test that pump widget. So the pump widget is the function provided by Flutter. Just it to load the run up. As you can see, it says it renders the UI from the given widget. So for us, we're going to pass in this function, create home screen, and it's going to load the material up in the home page. So passing the create home screen. Then that's there. So that's then we also add the await keyword here. We need to wait for Flutter to load this screen, otherwise we cannot proceed. Yeah, so we are all ready to start writing actual tests. So let me see the first test that you can write. We have the home page here. So we have a number, text testing sample. So the most crucial widget in the home page is the list view. So maybe we can just write a very simple test to make sure that that widget exists. So what you do is we use the same word before, expect. Now this time we use the tester variable, and no, not so sorry. You say, okay, we are trying to make sure that this variable, no, this widget list view exists. So in Flutter we have some few, I would say, utility functions and values. So you can actually say find. So find is a utility. So you say find. We're trying to find a widget, and to find a widget, we can do it by multiple ways. For me, I would personally do this by find by type. So you can actually by icon, by key, by utility. But for now, we're going to find by type, and we expect to return a list view. So we want to find a list view in this class, or in the widgets. We expect to have a list view. So you don't just put in the class list view, not the list view and the extended functions. And then we expect only one of them, this one. We expect a single one. So if we use another utility, say functions that say you can tell Flutter that just this finds nothing, utility finds nothing. It will find one widget. You can also use it finds widget, that is in the case you expect many. Then we have finds n widgets. You can actually put in how many number of widgets you want to find. But for us, since we know it's one, you can say finds one widget. So we expect this to be true. Finds one widget, we find by type the list view, and we expect to find one. Maybe we can run this test and see whether it works. See, it's running. Yeah, I've been talking too much. Are you guys actually here? Hello. Hello.
Yes, you are following.
Yes, we're here.
Yeah. Any questions so far? Okay, yeah. Our test.
Yeah. Okay, so far I have no questions, but would love to ask you maybe later on when you're done.
No worries. Just want to make sure you guys are still around. So yeah, our first test worked. So we can actually confirm we have one widget of the type list view. So then we can move on to some more, I would say more intense tests. You can maybe start writing a test to confirm that whenever you click the favorite button, it actually changes the icon to something else, that's to a field icon. Let me show the video. So somewhere around. So when you click one as the favorites icon, it is gonna the icon is going to change to a field one from the abundant from a bordered one. So this icon is gonna get filled with this color and change from this type. So let's try that test. So let's create another test widgets function. Let's get a description, testing icon button, testing icon button. So they expect the same callback, a function that passes in the variable test. So let's put it in test. So that's there. So again, you have to load in this and tell Flutter to load and start the main app. So just type await tester widget. We are going to load in the home screen. Okay. So let's first actually make sure that we have a widget the same way we found the list view. Let's make sure we find the icon or the icon button for clicking a favorite icon or to favorite an item in the list. So what you're going to do, we do the same thing. Expect find by find something, but we find it by what we can use by icon, because when we just confirming the code, because we have what we have in the item tile. Yeah, we have an icon button as a training, so we can actually use find by icon. Find by icon. So we expect icons for favorites. Yes. Yeah, icons for favorites. We expect this icon. Icons for favorites. Icons for favorites, and we expect actually favorite folder. You know, favorite folder. So because initially there's it we expect a lot of them, because we haven't selected any element in the list. So we would say finds main, finds widgets, a lot of them. So let's try and see whether it works. Yeah, it's good. It has found that we have favorite folders, icons that haven't been liked, and just found several, a list of them actually. So actually now actually test the implementation of tapping and liking an item. So what we do, we tell the tester, callback function, we get tester, we tell it that we want to tap. Tap actually means like clicking on a button, and we tell it which button to tap. We literally tell it to tap. We're going to tell it to tap the icons.favorite folder. So what we do is we tell it the same way. Find this icon. This icon we're going to use icons.favorite folder. Icons.favorites. And so we just expect what else does it expect? We have the finder, we have given it its finder, and then okay, here we expect the favorite folder icons to be many. Yeah, because we find widgets, it's a list of them, but we don't want to like all of them. We don't want it to tap all of them. They could be so many. So we can tell it to tap the first one. So we go right outside here from the find this that by icon. We add that. Then as it has this utility function to find the first one. So ideally it will tap the first icon of the first element. So after it does that, okay, before I move on, we need to also add the await function, or the await what before test starts, before we start tracking other tests. Okay, so we also tell it tester dot spam etc. So what this function does is runs this whatever Flutter needs to do, like the action of tapping it and doing it. Actually, that is what actually runs the whole thing and the animations. So even for Flutter, they have a documentation that says it repeatedly calls spam with a given duration until there are no longer any frames to be scheduled. So ideally, in a nutshell, that says that it is going to run all of these functions. It's going to pump this widget, tap this icon, and when there's nothing else to do, it's going to relax and do nothing else. So maybe you can tell it, you cannot give it a duration. For us, we're going to give it a duration. Maybe say do this for 2 seconds. duration, seconds. We do this for 2 seconds. You can name that there. Then yeah, let's see what Flutter is going to tell us here. Yeah, you can add that. So after that, we previously this was the icon that was there. So we expect after you like a list in the item, we expect it to change to this icon to favorite. So what we're going to do is write a test for that. We're going to say maybe we expect after all this that if you find by icon, we're going to find an icons dot favorite. This favorite. Yeah, favorite. And our matcher is something outside. So because we are clicking the first one, we also expect to find a single widget, finds one widget. So up to there, I think we can actually try and run this test and see whether it works. Let me try and do this in the command line. I don't know why VS Code is responding. So run a test, just write Flutter test. So since we do not want to run all the tests in the test folder, we specify which one. You can say the test folder, the screens, and then we can run the file. So the test is running. See what you said. This is the home page, the icon button. Yeah, and testing icon button. So we can oh yeah. Maybe also I'll add the widget here. Try again.
Hey, Dedan, sorry, the voice went low again.
Okay. I hope you didn't miss me for long.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The await keyword was the problem. So the test has passed, and we can actually prove and say that when you press the like button, the icon changes from this favorite folder to this one, icon to favorite. So, and with that, we have written the simplest test you can do for the widgets. Maybe you can check and see which other test you can write for here. Yeah. So when you click an icon, changes the text, then yeah, we have a text here, a snack bar that user text that says favorite. Maybe you can also test this one. Create another function. Test it. The on tapping the icon. So always try to make sure that your description actually say what you're trying to do, because when the test becomes when you're actually running the test, there might be many, and you need to figure out fast and quickly which ones are failing, so that you can have an easy time doing so we do the same thing. We like load the main. Then we load the main app tester.farm the widget. Our widget state home screen. That so just put this semicolon. So what we want to test is we want to make sure that whenever someone presses this the favorite button, whether it's liking or unliking, this message is displayed. Maybe you can say when he likes the button, this added to favorites message is displayed. Then copy that message so that much easier to replicate it on the other side. So we can say variable message that. So we can actually repeat this whole process, but and just copy paste this code. So the first test was actually to make sure that this icon is pressed, the liking function is done. So that here. And we also validate that it happens. Someone has liked that date, has pressed the like button. Then is the test for this for the text that is being displayed. Then we are going to start writing right now. So we want the tester. Oh, okay, we already pressed the button. So after pressing the button, we also expect this message to be displayed, and it's being displayed by text, by a text widget. So we are going to find this widget and also make sure that that widget is displayed that message. So say find. So find dot, you can say text. So find dot text takes in the value, the message that is here. Find dot text, find that message, and since you're pressing only a single like button, you can just say we expect to find one. Yeah, should find one widget. So my test are slowly. Let's do the command line. The tests are running. Yeah, all good. All our tests did pass, and all is okay. So let me see what else we can test for this class. But for the widgets, yeah, we can try to make sure that this list view scrolls. Yeah, let's try and see whether we can write that test to make sure that the list view actually scrolls when you do so. So test widgets, list view scrolls. Actually, yes, so you have to do some math to make sure that it does make sense for whatever you're get that. We're going to load in the pump widget and to load our home screen for our app. So yes, the pump. pump the widget. So pump up platform. Then after that, you want to confirm that I'll use scrolling. So ideally, when you open your app, then you just open our video. So as you can see, the first item here is 0. Maybe we can try and say that when this user scrolls, item 0 will not be visible. The first item, when you scroll downwards, the first item won't be visible. Let me see whether there's a scroll. Okay, a scroll, but yeah, that's basically it. Item 0 will be visible when you scroll upwards, that is. But when you scroll downwards, item 8 will be visible. So I will go with the first test. Item 0, when you scroll upwards, okay, downwards or upwards, item 0 won't be visible. So let me see. So when we first load the app, we need to confirm that item 0 is actually being shown on the screen. And the reason we want to confirm this is actually there because we need to make sure that our tests are actually doing the real work, and maybe we need to see them fail. But for this, we can actually verify and make sure that when you open the app, the item 0 text is visible. So what we do is we say expect find the text and find text. Item 0. Item 0, and we say we expect to find one. Finds one widget. So first things first, we make sure that we can actually find that this item 0. Yeah. See whether that test passes. Still running. Yeah, so good. So yes, when you run the app for the first time, you're going to see the item 0 text. So the next thing is scrolling. We need to scroll our list view. So for this, we use the tester. Wait. Then we use the tester. So the tester function provides a few methods to do this, to scroll a widget. There's one called fling, and another one called drag. You can drag from any position to another one, drag until visible, drag or just drag. But for this scenario, yeah, I would prefer we use fling. Because for fling, we're just going to scroll until item 0 is not being seen at the screen. We don't need actually to specify up to where or which position. So with fling, so for the tester, for this function fling, we have to give it a widget to fling. For that, we're going to give it our list view. So we find our list view. Find by type. Find by type. Give it our list view. Since we know it's there's only one list view, we don't need to write much for this one. But in a situation where you have multiple ones, yeah, you're going to run into problems because you find multiple list views. But for this scenario, this one will work. This is going to work. So we give it an offset, and so that does. Offset is so the last position is going to bring up to the offset. So the offset actually provides you need to provide to it two variables, a start position and name position. So for us, we are scrolling from the top of the screen downwards. So in an X and Y axis, let's say we move 2000 pixels downwards. No, 2000 will be upwards. So we need to move downwards. So we put in negative 2000. So negative 2000 is scrolling downwards. And when we put in a positive, it will be going upwards. So let's do this. So we need to specify the speed, and each value takes a double. Maybe you can say 3000. Then we perform we tell the widget tester to actually run this tester dot. We tell it to pump and settle. Pump and settle is just actualizing and running this action. We don't give it time because for this test, for the previous test, we needed to give it time so that it will not try and like all the buttons. But for this one, when we are going to stop when this is done. So we let the widget tester do whatever it takes to get this test done. Then for validation, what do we expect after this? After this, we expect that this find.text item 0, find do not expect to find this item 0 text. We do not expect to find it at all. So we say finds, it is going to find nothing. It won't find a single widget with this text item 0. So with that, we can run this test again and see what happens. Okay, the test is running. Yeah, I think the test passed. Okay, so the test is good. Yeah, we can fully confirm that our list view is working, and whenever you scroll, it actually does the scroll in the view without actually opening the app and trying to confirm this manually. So ideally, we can just run these tests all together once so that we can make sure everything is working. So for that, you can just use the command line. You say Flutter test. When you write Flutter test, it's going to run every single test in your test folder here. So basically, everything here will be tested at the same time. So let's see what is going to happen. So it's testing the icon buttons, this view scrolls. Yeah, you can see your test passed. 7 tests did pass. And I can see that in a good day if 7 tests have passed at once. So let's see whether I can test something else here. Okay, maybe you can just try and do this test and try with different ways of writing them and make them work. So let me see the top. Let's start at the top. We have you're popping a widget and finding our list view. Maybe you can try another method. Find by, let's see, we have icon. Icon won't work for us. By key, yeah, by key can work. So by key expects, what does it expect? They expect an actual key. Let's see whether this view does have so LSP doesn't have a key. We're going to give it one. So let's give it a key. What function to do this? Let's say here. So this is the same key we are going to pass into our function there. Let's see and try to see and test this password it goes through. The test is still running. Whether it works. Yeah, it's all good. Find by key also works. So if you want to find by key, you need to pass in the same key that you had assigned to the widget here. And that's how we find by key this guy. So maybe the next we can try your plan by type by icon. Find widgets by searching for elements. So I've never tried this one, but why not try it today? Type. So I think so personal type. Element type. So for those engineers, I need help now. So step talking about the widget. Is an example actually. So find the elements by down. Yeah, expect that a widget class the elements by type. Find by element type it does expect a widget class, but before I say more, I need to try and run the test and see whether it's working. So writing test isn't that hard. You get the hang of it, and you can always do the repetition. And we have our first test fail. It says check. Let's go the log the same. Expected exactly one function. Which means one, but one was expected. They actually open this view. See why it's not. It expected a single one, but still finding it. Now it still widgets. does not do subclass. Paul, any guidance on this? Hello, Maureen.
Hello, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm actually asking for help right now.
Hello? Come on again.
Yeah, I'm saying whether you have any idea as to why the element type isn't working.
Yeah, I think Maureen can help us with this. So let me just check with that. Maureen, are you in?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get the question right, Dedan.
Yeah.
Maybe you do.
So when you run the test using find by, let me first undo. When you use by key, it's working. But then I'm trying to experiment by element.
Sorry, your voice is going low again.
So I'm trying to experiment with by element E, another function. So it's trying to ask for repasting. Just this test pass, yeah, by element.
Oh, so you want to now test by element type?
Yeah. So the function says it expects something a type, a type of the subclass.
So maybe you can just click the element type and check what parameters does it requires. I can see it requires 2 parameters. That's the, wait, can you scroll up?
Okay.
No, press control, then press the by element type.
Okay. So I press control.
Yeah, I don't know what you are using, but if you press control, then press the method, it should show you what it requires. I don't know if it works that way for you.
Okay, just over here. Gives me
Yeah, even that's nice. Yeah, so it requires types and the boolean.
So yeah, for the boolean it's not necessary, but then for the type, it expects a class which must be a subclass of an element. So,
but in this case, you're putting list view as a key.
Yeah, list view as the variable. Okay, no, let me change this. So I don't know whether there's a subclass for this, or maybe I should pass in the this view dot builder.
Yeah, you'll have to pass in its properties, because here you want to find by its element
type. Yeah. Okay. Let me see.
How about not using builder? Can you can you rub off the builder? Just press list view. Okay, press dot after.
Dot.
So it brings in the builder, the custom, and the separate. So
yeah, and for widget we're using builder. So we are going to pass in a subclass. It's gonna be builder. Yeah. But yeah, this is my first time using the element type. I've never actually tried.
Okay, can you try running that test?
Yeah, this one is failed, but I can show you.
You can run it on debug mode.
Yeah, okay, let me try. It's done. Let me cancel this one.
Oh yeah, so as it is running, all our attendees, we are really sorry. We've extended by 20 minutes, but
wow.
I feel it's worth it because really learning a lot from this. So thank you for your patience.
So I think I'm just gonna
Still taking a lot of time.
PHP. So exactly one matching node in the picture. It expected one, but found none. So it find.
Oh, so the actual is the element type find.
Yeah.
Find out 0 widgets with the
like,
list view, ignoring. So it's trying to say there is no widget with the type list view.
Yeah, that's what it's trying to say.
This is quite an interesting thing to play around with and investigate.
Yeah, maybe you're gonna take homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also for me, I'm gonna try and figure out why it's not working. But again, it's a good way to learn.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because for coding, you just have to like try out, be creative and also be very curious on why things work the way they are and why they don't. Because that's the only way you can learn and move on to the next step. So ideally, that I think I've covered the most basic things in testing, and with that knowledge, everybody can start writing tests now.
All right, thank you so much for the presentation. Do we have any other person with any questions? So personally, I have one question.
Okay.
So what's your approach of writing integration tests? So these ones were unit tests, right?
Yeah.
Unit and widget tests. Yeah, unit and widget tests. So what's your approach of writing integration tests, or just an E2E test of the whole application?
Yeah, I prefer to use Firebase test suite. Yeah, I haven't actually tried to use the Flutter integration kit, but for me, I was try and do work with Firebase test suite lab. That does it for me.
Oh, okay, that's great to know. I didn't know I was not aware of that. So another question. So would you consider writing BDD tests, that's the behavior driven development test, to cater for your integration tests instead of writing, maybe using Firebase for the test sheets?
Well, now I'm gonna be honest, I've never tried that BDD, behavior driven. Yeah, I've never actually, I've heard about it, but not tried it out yet. Yeah, at the moment I'm just doing BDD.
All right, so that's great to know, because from my experience, we used to write tests, integration tests, like testing the controllers and everything on the API side. But then we moved to writing BDD tests using Karate. So Karate is a framework that also uses the Gherkin plugin to write the behavior-driven development tests. So for this, it kind of covers the whole app. Like it's like a replica of integration test that covers every other thing of the whole app. So yeah, it's good also to explore it. Otherwise, do we have any other person with any questions, feedback, comments?
Yeah, hello, Maurice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. It's okay. I had a question, but Maureen asked the question. I'm just wondering, okay, from my understanding of unit tests are independent tests, right? They're more related to a function. We're testing a single thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not that conversant with Flutter, but I find it queer that I had Maureen calling this one's unit test. That I'm seeing you going to a certain element, doing something, then asserting. Yeah, so maybe it's my lack of my knowledge in that sector. Maybe I'll just need to investigate further.
So as you can see,
yeah, I can see your screen.
So this is actually a unit test. It's testing a single function.
Okay.
Adding an element. So after you add an element, you have to assert that that element has been, it's added. So you have to check whether that array has that item. So you expect it to return a true value, a Boolean value, a true.
Yeah, and overall speaking, we have these tests which are usually called we have unit tests, we have integration tests, we have system tests. So
Yeah.
There's usually a great debate between what is system test and what is integration test. Sometimes there's a debate there.
Yeah.
But I don't know your opinion on what should be because generally integration tests are usually slow. So let's say you're running a test every time, it consumes time.
Yeah.
So you realize that there's no need of writing too much consumption integration test. I don't know what should be looked at when you're doing this test. I mean, when you're doing the integration test or when you're doing the system test, what should you test and what should you not? Because I know there's this word do not use as of there's something we usually call over testing. I don't know whether it's a good phrase or not, but yeah. So I don't know what should somebody look into when you're doing integration test, that is. Because unit test, you can write as many as you can.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but when you say you are doing an integrated test, you have to, at the end of the day, you are trying to ascertain that the full app works fully from the first line of code to the last one. So an integration test needs to cover everything that the app can. Yeah, it might take a lot of time to write and also run, but actually the last thing that you do before you launch or maybe go into production.
Yeah. So my opinion on this would be me. I usually write what keeps me awake at night. What keeps me awake at night. So that's what I test. Like I test only what keeps me awake at night. When they become more, so I usually just what the customer will call me. That's not because there are some things which are if not working, I'll be okay. I can be semi okay, but there are those which are not. If not, let's say you're making payment for certain the payments are failing. So I'll test that for sure because I know that can wake me up at 6 or 00 hours. Yeah. And then let's see on home test line 20 precisely. I saw I don't know whether I saw two expectations. I see this expectation on line 21, 22. I mean, and then I see another expectation on 27.
Yeah.
I don't know what's your thoughts on doing test independently. In that, if line 20 fails, I mean 22 fails, it should fail. Actually, I don't quite understand the syntax though, but my belief is that from 20 to 20, 26, 29, that's a single test, right? If I'm not wrong.
These are single tests. Yeah, single one.
So my question would be like when you're doing expectation, that's where you are really asserting that whatever I have is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
So if it fails, sometimes I feel like there's supposed to be two independent tests in that they're supposed to be on their own blocks so that they fail independently of the other. Unless they're related.
They're actually related. You can do that independent blocks, but then for you to actually like confirm that, you need to have a like let's say this. You need to put up a scenario of how the user will be using the app. So initially, the icon must be the user should not have liked the item. So it should be using this icon. So you have to affirm that first. Yeah, this is the icon that is present at the moment. Then when I press this icon, I expect it to change to this. Hello.
Sense. It makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense. It does make sense.
You need to assert which icon is before. Then you press the button. Then confirm it has changed to the next one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll be meeting a lot. I think there's a dog making noise on my background. Yeah. Sorry.
Right. Thank you for the question, Okoth, and thank you for the response, Dedan.
Yeah. Okay.
Just one last question. So what's your view on using mocks when writing tests?
Mokito.
Yes.
At learning, but I did have some questions about it. Like, okay, I'm mocking this. Do I have to like mock everything else and give it my own values? Or if it doesn't receive this type of value? But for me, it does work for simple scenarios. Like, well, I expect this So mock it for me. I expect this variable to initialize to have like 10 elements. So mock it for me. It will work and also come in handy when you're doing network calls. Like you don't want that network issues to mess up with your other tests, and also maybe loading images. For that, it will work. Yeah, basically, it's a good tool when you know how to use it well and at the right time. Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, got it. So thank you so much for your presentation and thank you for everything. So just one last thing. So please share with us the link to this GitHub source code. Yeah, that we'll share with the rest who are not able to join us today. And we'll also share a video recording of this. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for attending.
It's been a pleasure doing this. This is my first talk ever. Hoping to do many more in the near future.
Oh, wow, this was your first talk.
Yeah, this is my like the first
Congratulations.
one. Literally.
Yeah, congratulations. That's the way to go.
Yeah, I want to try and do this as much as possible. I realized when you learn alone, you can do much, but then you need also to confirm that you're learning the right things at the same time with others and also share your knowledge.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so thank you so much.
Yeah,
And